going on, everybody? Welcome to episode number 27 of Trail Tales. I got the episode number wrong at the beginning of last week's episode. I said 25 and it was supposed to be 26. And when I listened back on it, I cringed. I was like, oh shit, I totally fucked that up. But episode number 27 of Trail Tales. This is going to be a little bit of a different episode. First of all, because I'm recording this introduction quote live, I'm on the line, I'm on the phone with my guest, FLOSSY, right now, and I usually will record the conversation and then edit it and then go back and record the introduction once everything's done. But in the interest of time, we kind of got delayed a couple days here because I was sick when we were supposed to record originally. In the interest of time, we're just recording this now. I'm doing the introduction right now, and then we're going to put it out there. But like I just said a second ago, this week's guest is a man named Mitchell Larby, trail name FLOSSY. You might recognize that name, and that's because he was the third guest that Trail Tales ever had. That's right, episode number 3. Way back in, it must have been probably October at the time we recorded that episode, and then it didn't come out until the beginning of November, something like that. But quite a long time ago now, FLOSSY and I met on the AT, but that's not what we're going to talk about today. We're going to be talking all about our through hike of the Foothills Trail. Now, if you're not familiar with the Foothills Trail, we're going to talk all about it in just a second, but it's basically just this 77-ish mile hike out in South Carolina and a little bit in North Carolina as well, just right on the border there. And FLOSSY and I went out last week. Today is May 7th, and we left for the hike on April 27th, so it was just barely over a week ago. Actually, a week to the date right now. We were literally on the trail, so we were probably eating dinner and about ready to go to bed. So, we just got back from this hike is my point here. And yeah, I think we're just going to kind of go through every single day of the hike and just talk about it. We don't really have any topics. Those of you that listen to the show regularly have probably heard me say before that I like to prepare a lot of questions and stuff, and I literally don't have anything in front of me other than the map that we took on this hike with us. So I don't know, we're just going to talk about every single day, and at the end we're going to talk about a pretty weird story, something that happened to us. The most Trail Tales end of episode story time, worthy story. Yeah, and the other reason why this is going to be different is because, like I said, I'm kind of down to the wire to get this episode out because I'm going to post it literally right after we're done recording. And because of that, I don't really want to edit it, so I'm going to try to do this completely unedited. I don't usually edit the episodes that much anyways. I'll just cut out some of the ums every now and then, and if I say something really stupid or stutter, then I'll maybe cut that out. But I'm just gonna try to do it live on this one. FLOSSY and I are pretty good friends. I'm a little more comfortable around him, I guess, than I would be around somebody who I've never talked to before. So that's what we're gonna try to do. We're gonna get into friends. It. Wait, what'd you say? You're sliding into the introduction there, FLOSSY. It's live, folks.
Dude, what are you talking about? We're not friends.
Oh God, no, he doesn't like me after this hike apparently, but I think we're friends. I think he's joking there. We're
totally friends. I just took a Dollar General trip to the store for this podcast just to show how committed I am.
We had all sorts of trouble getting this episode together. We were gonna record a couple days ago on Sunday, the day after I flew back from our hike. But I got really, really sick for a couple days, with the stomach bug or something ridiculous like that. And there was just no way I could try to, I tried, I wanted to do it, but I just couldn't. And then yesterday, FLOSSY had some work delays. And then today we were going to record it and we almost couldn't because his headphones weren't working. So then
I saved the day.
He drove all the way to Dollar General.
Yeah, dude, I had to get some Norse sides and tuna for dinner tonight anyway, so.
Dude, no way. You had enough of that stuff for the past couple days. All right, hold up just a second, FLOSSY. We're going to get into it. Wow, people are probably hating me for cutting off my guest right now just to plug my stupid bullshit, but I got to say a couple
I'll do it for
things.
You. Like them on Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram.
Go like me
at Trail Tales Pod.
Yeah, see, he knows it. I should just let you say it. Yes, Instagram.
No, go ahead, bro.
Instagram at Trail Tales Pod, Twitter at Trail Tales Pod, Gmail or email, Gmail, whatever you want to call it. I have an email. Tell me how you like this episode. Tell me how you like doing this kind of live, or maybe talk some shit to me for cutting Flossy off to plug this shit, like I just said. TrailTalesPod
talk some shit
at gmail.com. Haven't really gotten much shit talk yet. Let's see, what else do I need to say? You know what? We're already doing it. I plugged that stuff enough during the other episode, so let's just jump into it, dude.
Mitchell Larby, right?
Mitchell Larby, what's going on, man? How you doing tonight?
How about them Bruins, man?
Oh, hell yeah. I try not to talk about the Bruins very much because nobody really cares because it's a hiking podcast, but the Bruins are going to the Eastern Conference Finals. Let's go.
Honestly, I just wanted to bring that up because I know Mullet's probably going to listen to this, so
yeah,
that's really the only reason.
Yeah, our buddy Mullet Mike, who's been a guest on 2 episodes now, he's not really a Columbus Blue Jackets fan, but he lives in Columbus. And so the Bruins just beat Columbus in the core semifinals, Eastern Conference semifinals. Now they're going to the actual Eastern Conference Finals, and if they win against Carolina, I know I've got some listeners in the Carolinas, right where we just were. If they win there, they're going to the Cup, so that's pretty sick. The NHL is sick, but again, I don't think anybody really cares about that. Let's talk about some hiking, Flossy. How you feeling? A couple days since we got back now.
I wish I was back out there. That's for sure. Not really. I felt great going out there. The only thing is that I guess we sort of forgot we were like on vacation, but a lot of people just don't go out and do a 77-mile through hike on their vacation. But we're sort of, and most of the people watching this probably can relate, but we're not the norm for sure.
No.
Anyways,
we still slept in though, like you said a couple
times. Yeah, that's
times.
what I'm saying. Like the hardest part was trying to slow the pace down when we were out there.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can agree.
Oh yeah,
but
for sure.
It was sort of nice to sleep in. Like we kept saying we were trying to wake up early, but it just never happened, usually on my part too.
I mean, it was on your part like the first time, and then after, like literally you said one time, you were like, dude, we're on vacation, like let's just sleep in. And after that I was kind of like, yeah, all right, we'll sleep in. And when I say sleep in, I don't mean like we weren't like sleeping until like 11. We would just sleep until like probably like 8 instead of getting up at like 6:30 or 7 like we kind of originally talked about, you know?
It was just hard to make the adjustment from like constantly on the grind on the Appalachian. Like there really was there was an end goal, which was completing the trail, but it wasn't any Katahdin, you know?
Yeah.
It was hard to slow the pace down just because even though it was 6 months afterwards, it still was, we kept saying, dude, we need to just slow down, just take in the views and everything. But we sort of had trouble slowing down, and actually your foot sort of hurt that was the result of it, really.
Yeah. I still don't really know what's going on with that. We'll get into that in just a second. I kind of want to start here by just like giving some information about what the Foothills Trail is. Now, if you're like a regular listener, you might have heard my episode like it was probably like a month, or no, it was longer than a month, maybe like 2 months ago now, with Aaron Wankels.
Ivy?
Aaron Ivy. Wankels was his trail name. That's right. Oh man. And he talked a little bit about his Foothills Trail through hike. I think it was like a year or 2 ago, but we didn't really like talk the whole episode about it, so I'm just going to give some of the information about it. So like I said, it's in the Carolinas. It's mostly in South Carolina, but it does kind of skirt into North Carolina for a couple miles in a couple different spots too. And it actually goes right up to the Georgia border as well. It's like right at the intersection of those 3 states, Georgia, North Carolina, and South Carolina, pretty much. And it's 76.5 or 0.2 miles.
0.2.
We were just rounding up to 77 because that makes sense, right? 76.2, you round up to 77, obviously.
That's right.
So yeah, it's not a long trail, but it's freaking awesome. It starts in Oconee State Park in South Carolina, and ends in Table Rock State Park, or vice versa if you do it the other way. We hiked from west to east. Yeah, so we hiked Ebo. Most trails are like northbound, southbound, like Nobo, Sobo, but it's like east-west. So I don't know. We should have hiked westbound just so we could say we went like Wobo. I feel like that sounds better than Ebo. Oh, I don't even know. That's stupid as fuck. But
but I like the direction we went for sure.
Yeah, sure. For sure.
I'm glad the way it ended.
Absolutely. So I kind of want to talk a little bit about like just how we made some of the logistics work, like before we even started hiking. So I flew into Savannah, Georgia, where Flossie lives, conveniently enough, and he scooped my ass up from the airport, and then we drove. Probably took us like 5.5, 6 hours ish.
It took me about that long to friggin' find you in the airport. I got lost. Like I haven't been to the airport very, very much, so sort of got lost looking for Nar.
Yeah, we made it work though. He scooped me. We drove, like I said, all the way up to Table Rock State Park, which is the end of the trail, or the end of the trail for us at least. And from there, we took a personal shuttle run by my parents. Thank you, Mom and Dad, very much for driving us. And they drove us from Table Rock back to Oconee, and we left our car at Table Rock. So we were basically just hiking back to the car. That way we didn't have to worry about getting a shuttle at the end of the trail and like hiking on some sort of like pace or anything. We knew the car was at the end, and we just had to make it there with however much food we had. So that's kind of how we did it. We also camped at Oconee State Park the very first night, which I guess a little pro tip for anybody who wants to do this. First of all, try to get to Table Rock or Oconee, whichever park you're leaving a car at. Try to get there before 6 o'clock. It might even be 5:30 for Oconee. I can't quite remember. Double check that, people. But you want to get there before whatever their closing time is, because the lady on the phone kind of made it sound like you're really not supposed to get there after that. We showed up at 6:30 and we still got like a parking pass and everything, so like it was fine. But make note of that. And then the other thing you should make a note of is, in, I believe, the South Carolina State Parks online, it says that you can only reserve them for 2 nights. However, 2 nights minimum, that is. However, I contacted Oconee State Park and was just like, hey, like we just want to crash for the night, and then we want to go do this hike. We'll be out of the park the next morning. Like, is there any way we can just do that? And they made me wait until the day of just to make sure there were sites available before I reserved one. But they did let me kind of like bend that rule a little bit just for the night. So that was pretty dope as well. I don't know. I feel like that pretty much like covers like the pre-trail logistics. Flossie, is there anything else that I missed there you think people should know if they want to go do this trail?
Yeah, do you have to be a resident to have the South Carolina passport?
Oh, the park pass. Yeah, so my parents live in South Carolina, and I guess there's this thing where if you get this like, I'm assuming it's like annual park pass or something. It's like some sort of like entry to all the parks for some. I don't know what it is. It's their pass, but if you have a South Carolina Parks Pass, I believe it's called, then you don't have to pay for the parking. Which, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. If you don't have this, which I'm assuming a lot of people won't, if you're not from South Carolina, it's like $5 per day to leave your car at Table Rock. I'm assuming it's the same for Oconee, but double check that. I'm not positive on that. It should be, but I'm not positive. So yeah, but we had this pass thing, so we didn't have to pay, so that was sweet. Thanks again, Mom and Dad. Really hooking us up on this trip. That was great.
Oh, also just what was that called? Carpet golf?
Oh.
Look for the map. Look for the map by the carpet golf place, so you know where you're going. Because we got into our, like the first night we stayed there, we got into our campsite just around dark.
Yeah,
that was cool though.
That was kind of my fault. I did like all the planning pretty well, I think, but I didn't actually like find out like where the Foothills Trail started in Oconee State Park, or where our campsite was for that matter. So we were kind of driving around the park for like at least a half an hour, maybe longer, like just trying to find our campsite and everything. And then the next morning we woke up and we're like, okay, well now we have to go find the trail. And it turns out it was probably like at least a mile from where our campsite was, but we got hooked up by this trail, this guy that was just staying in the campground that was going to do some trail runs, and he actually just like saw us kind of wandering around the campground like freaking idiots, and he picked us up and he brought us down to the trail. So that was great as well. So just bring a map. I guess that's kind of stupid and obvious, but bring a map of the campgrounds if you're gonna do this, so you can find everything easily.
What did that guy? What he said he did the Benton McKay
Yeah,
trail?
yeah.
He did a race on that. It was like 200 miles, like a trail
something
run.
ridiculous, like some like 200-mile trail run. Which honestly, I bet you there's somebody listening to this that has done things like that, which is absolutely insane. And you should come on the show another time and be a guest if that's you. But yeah,
For sure, because like I even have questions about that. Obviously, he didn't trail run 200 miles like straight. I'm just wondering how they like do you it's obviously it's probably supported, wouldn't you think?
I feel like it's got to be. I mean,
It's
are you gonna carry
supported,
like
or
a
like
heavy pack for 200 miles of running?
I
That
know,
might be
but like,
tough.
do they? I wonder if there's like a stopping point during, like, I
Yeah,
don't know. I have a lot of
there's got to
questions.
be.
Like,
I do too, honestly. I feel like I'm a pretty good knowledge base when it comes to like hiking and backpacking, but when it comes to trail running, not really, honestly. I really can't like I'm probably sounding like an idiot like just saying that stuff in front of people that are listening to this that actually do the trail runs, and they're like, "Oh, it's so obvious, you just do this and that." But like, yeah, we don't know people, sorry. Let's talk about day one, Flossie. So day one, we started from Oconee, and we hiked, what was it, like 16.3 miles or 15.9 miles actually is what it was, to
yeah, 15.
Burrell's
Ford. Yeah.
Ford campground. Burrell's
So we
Ford.
stayed. So basically, that whole day we were walking alongside Chattooga River, so you could see that was basically the border. I mean, if you walked I was saying like, I wish that I would have brought my fishing pole, and I was like, but I'd have to buy a South Carolina license, and you were like, no, you just walk across the river,
Yeah,
because I got a Georgia license, so.
Yeah, just like
But
you
yeah,
said.
yeah, we were on the Chattooga River like basically not the whole day, probably half the day.
Yeah, the second half of the day, I'd say.
So we were walking through, which this is like my first experience really walking through that much sand, like on the
Me
beaches
too.
and stuff. We were really exposed to the heat, which we got beautiful weather. We got really lucky. It sprinkled probably like once that first night.
That's a
for
little
2 seconds.
disclaimer I feel like I should probably say is I feel like I'm about to, and Flossie probably is too, I feel like we're about to both like hype this trail up quite a bit, and I just want I was thinking about this earlier. I meant to say this at the beginning. 2 disclaimers about us hyping this trail up. First of all, you've heard at least me talk about like shitty parts of the AT, and like I'm not the kind of person that just hypes up like every single hike I've been on. Like I'm not gonna go like have a terrible hike and then talk about how great it was on my stupid podcast, right? So I'm not just hyping it up to hype it up. Like I legit think this trail is amazing. And then the second thing Flossie just mentioned is that we literally had like perfect weather the entire time, so that also like contributes to the fact that we had like such an awesome hike, and why I think this trail is so amazing. But yeah,
I'm
sorry,
for sure
I kind of
gonna
just
hype it up.
yeah,
I'm for sure gonna hype it up. It was awesome.
it was amazing. So kind of going back to that first day, let's see. So the river was like the second half. Overall, I think that first day, like terrain wise, was probably like the easiest out of all of them. I don't know. Would you agree with that?
I don't know if we really hit a wall like after lunch that first day.
Yeah.
I think it was just mostly because of the heat, and you coming from, what'd you come from, like what was the temperature in Vermont when you left? Like 40 something?
Yeah, probably 40s and 50s.
Yeah, and the like freezing rain and everything.
And no sun, that's for
So,
sure. I guess
yeah.
one thing that was like pretty apparent, which we actually kind of touched on a little bit right at the beginning of the episode here, was that we kind of came out of the gate like flying, right? Like I even like
Yeah.
subconsciously knew that like I shouldn't be like hiking super fast, but I feel like because it was both of our first times right back on the trail since we had gotten back from our AT through hike when we were in like just amazing shape, obviously. I feel like we just kind of picked up right where we left off, and then by the time we got through lunch, we were kind of like both just like dragging ass, like, oh shit, like we can't maintain this like AT through hiker pace like we could when we were actually, hiking 2,000 miles,
Plus, I had a lighter pack too, so I was like really flying then.
Yeah.
Like just getting off the AT and then switching up all my gear. So that was definitely, that helped me out a lot.
Yeah,
But
for
it
sure.
also hurt me too, because I went way harder than I probably should have. Especially since it was vacation. I guess a through hike is sort of a vacation, but it honestly kind of turns into a job,
Yeah.
Like you don't, some days it's just like a job. Some days you just don't want to get up, but you got to get up and keep on moving.
Yeah.
So.
It's like a job that you don't get paid for, but instead you pay for. It's like college pretty much. Like you don't, you're doing all this work, but you're paying to do the work, which I guess college is probably a better investment than a through hike, but
I don't know. I got a lot out of through hiking. Who knows? Some people might not even get anything out of college, right?
That's true. I meant that in like a financial aspect, but in like a spiritual, like life fucking aspect.
I wish we could have got paid for our through hike. That would have been cool.
I know, right? We gotta get some sponsors, dude.
No, honestly, I was the brokest I've ever been after, but honestly, I was the happiest too.
Yeah, for sure.
After achieving something like that and meeting you guys, but
definitely.
Yeah, so that first day we hit a wall halfway through after lunch, just because of the heat, and we had some, kind of reminded me of New York a little bit.
Yeah.
Really, the ups and downs. Like constantly.
Yeah, it was like that because looking on the elevation profile in this little handy dandy map, which is made by Anti-Gravity Gear, and I'm pretty sure it's like created by the same guy that does the AWOL guide, which would be AWOL, I guess that's his freaking name. So
David.
So this elevation profile, it didn't really make the first day look too bad. Like there's a couple little ups and downs, but I think that once we got to that river section, Flossie, the ups and downs were so like subtle that they just didn't show up on the profile, honestly, because it felt like we were just constantly going up and down, like, not even 100 feet at a time. Just like go down to the river, walk on some sand, go up like 50 feet, come back down, sand, just like rinse and repeat. And that just makes it on the map look flat because you're not really actually changing that much elevation, but it does kind of get to you after a while, just like the small ups and downs in New York, like you just said.
Yeah, I can't complain at all. I mean, it was a beautiful day and we got awesome views. It was cool to follow that river for the second half of the day. And there were all sorts of people fishing on. I didn't see anybody catch anything, but it was cool to just see everybody out there fishing on it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Chattooga River, I did look it up, and you were right. That is where they filmed Deliverance, but we didn't hear any banjo playing music or anything like that. So that's good.
I didn't bring my banjo. It was too heavy. It didn't fit it in my pack.
Yeah. Dude, you gotta go ultralight.
Maybe somebody makes like an ultralight banjo. We could fucking get up in there.
Maybe the guy Brett, I believe is his name. That his trail name Strings that I hiked with on the AT. He had a guitar with him.
Yeah.
But he made it himself though. So.
Oh, that's sick. I remember that guy. I met him like one time, but I didn't know he made it himself. That's pretty gnarly.
It was awesome. Like every night at camp, he would take it out and just play like classical jazz music to just like chill everybody out. It was sweet.
Oh, that's pretty dope. I guess this is a good question. So your first day back, backpacking, hiking, whatever, since finishing the AT, how did it feel? I guess do you feel like you just like went right back into the swing of things, like right back into that same like kind of place you were in when you were through hiking? Or did you kind of like feel the novelty of it a little bit at first, kind of like you did maybe when you were Yeah, not exactly when you were starting your AT, but like kind of something similar to that at all. Like I don't know, how were you feeling at the beginning?
I don't know. I don't want to sound cocky or anything, but it really felt like I never even got off the AT.
Okay.
Like, I think it's just a lot of it had to do with I bought basically all brand new gear and way lighter. And when you go through a through hike, you learn what you need, what you don't need. You just learn how to live like a minimalistic, is that the word?
Yeah. Yeah, something like
Minimalistic
that.
lifestyle. Y'all know what I mean. But yeah, I felt great. I felt great throughout. Honestly, I thought my knees would take some impact, um, but they didn't. I just towards the end, because uh, what'd we do? 216s, an 18, and a 9.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah, so I mean, we didn't go like too easy, really. We
No.
we sent it like we always do. But yeah, I
Definitely
didn't.
didn't break any like speed records, but also like
Nah.
yeah, I feel like we
We
did it
didn't.
like perfectly. I wouldn't have wanted to do it any
Yeah.
faster, and I kind of liked the pace we did because it was enough of like a challenge too that like I kind of got that aspect out of it. Not that I don't like to hike slow too and just like kind of take everything in, but I don't know. I feel like we did that pretty well for sure.
It's just I don't know. I guess it's just normal. Like we find a way to balance both of them. Like we're able to take everything in, but also keep a good pace. I I just like the feeling of getting into camp, like, and having time to set up and eat and bullshit
Yep.
and just do whatever you need to do.
Yep, for sure. For
But no,
sure.
I felt like I got right back into the swing of things. And also I got some new foot. I switched to the ultras, so
What were you
also
hiking
and
in on the AT?
so I started with like these bulky Columbia boots. I think they were like 1,000 gram boots that I had broken in previously, but I literally walked until the soles fell off in them. Like I was slipping all in the mud and everything. And then when I hit Irwin, Tennessee, unfortunately, I should have gotten shoes when I was in Hot Springs, but I didn't. That would have been the smart move. See, these are things you learn when you do a through hike. But yeah, when I got to Irwin, all they had was a Walmart, so I had to go to I got a pair of Walmart shoes.
Damn.
I hiked in those for a while until Damascus, so a couple hundred miles, and that was a big reason for the shin splints.
Oh,
Footwear is so important. Like you gotta you gotta just find the shoe that fits for you and whatever's comfortable for you. But yeah, I had a Walmart shoe, and then I finally smartened up a little bit after that. I got some Hokas and stuck with those throughout the rest of the AT, but just recently switched to Ultras just to try them out. And luckily, my job's pretty physical. Um, I move around a lot, so I was able to break them in. And I think I'm gonna stick with Ultras, man. I love them.
nice, nice. Yeah,
So
I've never hiked in them, but those are probably the most popular like brand of shoe that we saw on the AT. I don't know. Would you agree with that?
yeah, a lot of people had them.
Yeah, for sure. A ton of people.
Yeah, a lot.
Um. That's so day one. So what was that place called? Burles Ford.
Yeah, that's where we started day 2.
Yeah, so I kind of want to talk about that campsite a little bit because that was like kind of a unique campsite. So we weren't really quite sure like what was going on at the time, but I was actually reading about it a little bit today, Flossie. So it's like a free. I might have said this on the trail, but I wasn't like sure. But now I'm like more sure that it's like a free national forest, like Forest Service campground, and there's like a little parking area, and then there's like a dirt road, and you just hike in like a quarter mile to like a half mile maybe, and there's just campsites along this like little hike in, I guess. And the Foothills Trail also like kind of dips down where these campsites are, and so you've got people that can stay there that just like drove in almost pretty much, and then you've also got hikers that can stay there. We were there on a Sunday night, so there was a couple people that we like heard off in the distance, but we didn't actually like. There was nobody camped in the sites directly next to us, but that was a pretty cool spot. I thought you're right on the river. You know, Georgia's just on the other side, and they also had like bear poles, some of which didn't have cables, but it was still like an easy place to hang a bear bag, I guess. So I don't know. And picnic tables too. What did you think of that spot, Flossie?
Oh yeah, I thought it was awesome, especially that, like you said, you could see Georgia right on the other side. There were so many campsites there, though. I was wondering how, like, far down they all went.
Yeah, pretty far, I guess. Like I said, I think it was like a quarter to a half mile, something like that. And there was a privy, but it wasn't. It was at like the end of the road, like back near the parking lot. So probably would have been a little bit too far away for us to venture to. At least for me, because I was like totally fucking destroyed at the end of that first day. I wasn't going anywhere, dude.
Yeah, you took a nap.
I set my hammock up.
I look over and you're just slumped, just passed out in your hammock.
I always like, after I set my hammock up, I always like get in it just to like make sure like everything's good. And when I did that little test to get in it, I just didn't get out for like an hour. I just like took a nap real quick. I mean, I was absolutely destroyed. You got to keep in mind too that first of all, I didn't really sleep well the previous night because I was really excited. And I got up at 4 a.m. to fly into
Is that the reason why? Were you partying?
I was not partying, no. I was editing a podcast, actually. I was editing last week's episode so I could schedule it to get it out on time. And then I still fucked up the day, so it came out a day late. But I had to get it ready. So that's why I was up. And then I just couldn't sleep because I was excited. But I woke up at 4 a.m. to do the flight and then drove for 6 hours. And then, I guess I had a night, the night before we started, and I didn't sleep super well that night either for some reason. Even though I think it was just because I hadn't hiked yet. So sleeping in the outdoors when you're not like exhausted, I don't know. Some people love that shit, but I always sleep a little bit better just after like a day of hiking. So, anyways, I'm saying this because I was just really fucking tired. So I took that little nap after we got to camp at the end of day one. I guess I kind of want to talk about my foot real quick too. I've got something going on with my left foot. I thought it was my ankle for like the past like month or two, and I was hoping it would just go away. I was like kind of babying it. I wasn't running or doing any really exercise, and unfortunately, it was still feeling a little bit weird. And then it kind of like turned into this thing like on the bottom of my left foot. And I'm not really sure what's going on. It feels a lot better now, but it's kind of weird. I don't know. I got to get that checked out probably. But it started to hurt like halfway through the day, and it hurt pretty bad. So that was kind of bumming me out a little bit. But by the end of day two, which I think we're going to kind of transition into now, it did start to feel a little bit better. So day two, Flossie, I remember most of like the second part of day two because that's when the trail like really started to get like fucking awesome in my opinion.
Once we hit like hemlock forest, right? All the hemlocks
and like the huge suspension bridge and all that stuff. But I don't know. What about the first half of that day? What do you remember from the first half of day two?
Dude, I don't remember much.
I remember we met that couple on top of that like little peak.
Oh yeah. No, I just really the second half of that day after lunch sticks out a lot more. Like once we passed over Whitewater River, right? We had to go over this. Basically, we came down to this river and we had to go over this boulder field, up this ladder and across this like 60-foot steel bridge, which was. And then once we crossed that bridge, it was just like sick campsites. We followed Whitewater River. That's what it's called, right? You got the map right there?
Yep. I'm looking at it. Whitewater River. Yep. And there was that like crazy bridge. People listening are probably like, "Wow, crazy bridge." But it was dope, people. It was a dope bridge.
No, and plus Narnar was videotaping the whole time, so we're gonna have what would you call it? Like a vlog series coming out?
I'm gonna see what I can put together. I've never like actually made like a video like this before, but we did film like pretty much the entire trail, so I was gonna plug that at some point here too. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe if it's good enough, I'll put it out there for people to see. I haven't really looked at the footage yet, to be honest, dude, because I was just feeling like shit for the past couple of days. But maybe I'll take a look tomorrow if I find the time.
Yeah, it'll be awesome to look back on that and see. Hopefully, I think we got some really good footage,
Yeah, we
honestly,
did. Oh, we
because
definitely did.
the trail is just it's got everything. Like you're always by the water. It's got waterfalls, rivers. You come out to like lakes, and it's got everything. It'd be great for someone who was thinking about starting the Appalachian Trail. It'd be a good like shakedown hike for
Oh,
sure.
absolutely. Honestly, I feel like it was super comparable to Georgia, pretty much. Would you kind of agree with that, Flossie?
Yeah, I think I would agree, especially which we'll probably get to later, but when we went up Sassafras, I think for sure
Yeah,
that part is comparable to Georgia.
on the AT, yeah, for sure, for sure. Because I mean, it's the Foothills Trail really isn't that far from like the Georgia section of the AT. I don't know what it is like straight line. Maybe I can like Google it, but like it's pretty much the same exact type of terrain. The Foothills Trail is just at a little bit of a lower elevation, I'd say.
Yeah, we were what was Sassafras like 3,500?
Let's
I think we
see.
were up around there.
Um, yeah, 3553. Yeah. So that's pretty decent sized mountain, I guess. Highest in South Carolina. Let's go back to day 2. So, honestly, yeah, really the only thing that stuck out to me about day 2 was that White Water River section, like you said. So
Oh, the
this was
four
probably
it,
just like the last like 4 miles of the day for us, right? We'd already done like 12
yeah.
miles at this point.
Yeah, the forest really widened up. That was one thing too. Like you could see further. It wasn't just we weren't hiking through like thick rhododendrons anymore,
Hmm.
which I think that's a lot of what the first half of that day
Yeah, it
was
was for
just
sure.
like the trail was really narrow, and then once we passed over that bridge, it really widened up, and it was awesome walking by the river. We
So
had some sweet campsites.
straight line from Oconee State Park to Amicalola Falls State Park, 67 and a half miles. So yeah, not very far from the start of the trail, going back to what I was saying there. But yeah, so what about our campsite that second night too? That campsite I thought was really freaking sweet. I don't did it even, I don't think it had a name. That's one thing about this
No, it didn't.
trail. Yeah, that on this trail, not as many places have like official names as they do like on the AT, for instance. Like everything's like marked on the map, but instead of saying like, oh, fucking Flossy campsite here, it'll just say like just campsite. Or instead of like a shelter, obviously there's no shelters on the Foothills Trail. So like the campsite's not, some of them have names, but like most of them don't have names, and I don't think this one did, but it was still like a pretty like established like campsite. It wasn't just like a stealth site. Like there was like benches and a fire ring and all that stuff. And I don't know, what did you think of that campsite? And I thought it was like super super sweet, honestly.
Well, they do the people who do the maintenance on that trail do a really awesome
Oh yeah.
job. I mean, there were quite a like I think that second or third day there were quite a few blowdowns, and they were actually out there clearing them out. But if there were that many that they hadn't gotten to, I can only imagine what the work they had been doing. So they
Hmm.
do. I mean, they do a really good job out there. It seems like a lot of the picnic tables and the benches and stuff they had just recently put together. And
Yeah.
this trail had it was like an ongoing joke, but it had so many bridges. Like
So many bridges, dude. And
um,
it was just funny because like half of the waypoints in the guidebook would just be like stream
yeah.
bridge at mile whatever, and we'd be like, well, shit, we've literally passed like 5 bridges in the last like couple hours. Like that's not even an exaggeration.
No.
Like there's some sections of this trail where you will literally pass like 5 of these, like, and I'm like, we're not talking like shitty like law or like planks like over a river, like nothing sketchy. These are like nice bridges with like handrails and everything, like just amazing, amazing trail work. That the I think it's the Foothills. I really should have looked this up.
Conservancy, yeah. Foothills Trail Conservancy.
Google it just so I'm sure. Conservancy.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So, something that I won't forget about that night. Basically, we were down in like, I don't want to call it like a gully, but isn't that basically what we were in? Like down.
Yeah, it's kind of
an
hard
embankment.
It's kind of hard to explain. Like, so we were kind of on the side of like a mountain. Like, so kind of the trail was like kind of cutting straight through like this pretty steep terrain, and then all of a sudden, I'm not going to be able to describe this. I feel like all of a sudden there was just like this one like kind of flat spot, I guess, but it was still like kind of surrounded on all sides by a hill. That made no sense. It was just this random flat spot in the middle of kind of a pretty sloped part of the mountain, I guess is the best way to describe it. But I know where you're going for here, Flossie. Go ahead.
Yeah, basically just think of like a coliseum in the old days. Like it was like we were down, everyone, it felt like, I don't know how to explain. Anyways, at the end, like these fireflies just surrounded us. It was like they were, I don't know, it almost felt like we were like putting on a play or something, like they were the audience and they were all just watching us for some weird reason. Thousands of them came out all around us. That's why I brought up Coliseum, because it felt like you and I were the play and they were just all, I don't know, it was an awesome moment.
It was really cool. I mean, we were like just kind of sitting there after dark. We were going to go to bed pretty soon. And like, I remember seeing a couple of them like come up from like this one part of like the campsite. And then they
at first I thought they were eyes.
Just like came. Yeah, I know, right? And like more and more just came. And then they like kind of were all around us and like surrounded us. And that was really cool. I'd never experienced anything like that either, honestly.
Yeah, I'd never seen that many fireflies in one spot. It was like waves of them.
Yeah.
Like it was almost like, because it was so dark and they were the only things you could see. It felt like you were in outer space. Like, and it was just stars flickering all around you. It was awesome.
It was pretty cool. Day 3. So I'm trying to.
I think day 3 was my favorite day.
So that was the day that we were on like all the logging roads, right?
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting. So the AT and like other trails I've been on will sometimes like certainly cross and often follow like old abandoned logging roads for like certain, maybe like a half mile or not even that, or a mile like maximum, right? But pretty much I would say out of the 16 miles we did on day 3, I'd say probably at least 10 of them were on like logging roads, which I thought was like really cool because like the trail is just really wide, easy to follow, like not super aggressive to hike on by any means. And I thought that was great. I don't know, what did you think about that, Flossie?
I thought it was like a pretty normal day, but it was one of my favorite days just because of where we stayed at.
Yeah,
like that was a nice like hidden gem that I don't even think was on the map, right?
So looking back on it, I think it was on the map, but it didn't like specify that it was any different than any of like the other campsites. So that was in so right at the end of the day, you come out to this lake that's called, do you remember the name of this?
Toxaway. No. It was Toxaway River that ran into that lake, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's right. I'm double checking here. I haven't looked at the map since we got back.
Jocassee. Jocassee, Lake Jocassee.
So Lake Jocassee, I guess that's it. So right at the point where Lake Jocassee hits this like Toxaway River, like right where they like intersect, the river basically flows into the lake.
Yeah, it does. It flows right into it's pretty sweet because it comes in from like 2 directions and flows right into the lake.
And there's this amazing camping spot there. I believe it's in Gorges State Park, North Carolina. So it's actually on the North Carolina side of the border. And but it's like it's in the backcountry. Like there's side trails to it, but I think there's still like at least a couple miles. So it's not like just like a drive-in like campground. But there were like actual like marked sites there with like picnic tables and fire rings and some like, what were those hook things? They weren't like bear cables. They were just like these like weird like little I guess you could like hang your clothes on it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I guess that's what the purpose was for them. I don't even know what it wouldn't. You definitely wouldn't put your food on them because it doesn't keep them away from any animals
Yeah,
out
no,
there.
they're not
But
high enough for that.
no,
Yeah.
that was awesome. I didn't expect that many picnic tables either.
Yeah, I
To be
know.
honest.
Didn't I tell you like the first day, like before we even started, when we were
You
at
were
the
like, there are
Oconee,
none.
I was like, yeah, this is probably going to be the last picnic table we're going to get on the whole trail. We hadn't even started yet. And then we pretty much had a picnic table. Let's see, we had the first night, we had it the third night, and I guess we didn't on the other 2 nights, but half the nights that's still pretty good.
Yeah, it
But
was like nice flat spots. It was it was a nice night, and we just sat out and shot the shit by the lake and just looked all around, and that was when a lot of our AT stories came up. That was
yeah,
the best night we had for sure. We just reminisced on the Appalachian Trail really, and
absolutely.
talked about other things too, but that was mainly, yeah, I got goosebumps for sure.
That yeah, I'm just like trying to think of like what else is worth, because I feel like I'm not doing it justice and just being like, oh, this spot was so cool, like it was so amazing, but it really was. I mean, that's honestly my favorite thing about this whole trail was just like the campsites. I mean, all the campsites we stayed at were like so like freaking awesome, and like there's even more like really cool ones that we didn't get to stay at, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, I guess if you're looking to do this trail, like I mean, the trail is awesome, like in all regards, but especially the camping, freaking awesome. Definitely try to stay at the campsite at mile 49. At mile
Yeah, I
49.
mean, we talked about it. I mean, Narnar and I both love hiking, obviously, but we all know that hiking is definitely like the shittiest part of the day. When you get to camp and you're just able to kick back and relax and just a big thing for me is just not being on the phone, you know.
Yeah.
Just actually socializing. The trail, I think I said this in the other podcast I was in, but it forces you to be social, to talk to people, have actual conversations. So that's why that was such an awesome night because Narnar and I were able to just go out there by the water, sit down, and just talk like
Mhm.
people used to do.
Yeah.
Instead, everyone just talks on their phones and everything. But that's one reason I really love going out there too.
Yeah, so that's actually, you just reminded me of like another thing I wanted to say about that campsite was that our site in particular was like right on the water pretty much, and like the actual like place where we set our shit up and where the table was and all that stuff was like up a little bit, but there was like a little path that led out to like it wasn't really a beach, but it was like kind of like a beach except instead of sand it was just like a little rock area, but it was like right up against the water, so that was really cool as well. We could like see the sky and like see the river and the lake and all that. So definitely try to stay there, people. Gorgeous state park, mile 59 if you're going eastbound on the Foothills Trail. Probably my favorite spot or favorite campsite anyways on the whole trail.
Yeah, for sure, it was. Yeah,
So day 4, so our last full day, we cranked up the mileage a little bit more on day 4. We did 18 instead of 16, which we did on the 2 previous days. I feel like actually no. So the morning, just immediately after you get out of that campsite we were just talking about there, you go on what's called Heartbreak Ridge.
Heartbreak Ridge.
Which why don't you tell them about that a little bit, Flossie?
Yeah, so basically when I read in the Foothills guide, it said people were saying it was like the hardest part of the whole trail, but I don't know how many stairs were there? That's another thing about this trail. They put instead of
Yeah.
like forming rocks into the side of the mountain, they put actual like steps.
Wooden steps, yeah.
Yeah. Um yeah, those occurred a lot throughout the whole trail, but I think there was what, like
157 stairs.
oh, that's it?
That's
Yeah, I know they made it out to be this big like which it was a nice
Oh, wait a
it
minute.
was a pretty steady climb, but
157 on the way up and 249 on the way down.
Yeah, let's just say the approach trail of the AT is way worse than that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It was, but for that trail standards, I mean the trail wasn't easy by any means, but what was its difficulty? They said strenuous, right?
Well, yeah, I mean I feel like that doesn't, like, those kinds of ratings don't really mean jack shit.
Exactly.
I would say, like, compared to well, I guess you can't really compare a 77-mile trail to the 18.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, compared to Georgia, I would say, I might have said this already, but I know we talked about how it's similar to Georgia, but as far as, like, the difficulty goes, I would say it's, like, a slightly easier version of Georgia, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
So
but Heartbreak Ridge was, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I kicked our ass a little bit there at the beginning, but once we got up to the top, like up on the ridge, we were just like, huh.
Yeah, it's
not that
long.
bad.
It's like not even a mile, this whole thing. Like it's just like a really short, like really steep section out of nowhere pretty much. But I personally, I don't think it was the most difficult part of the trail. Like the guidebook kind of made it sound like. Maybe the steepest, sure. It was probably the steepest, but like I said, it was so short that it was.
So let's move on to the hardest part of the trail then. Sassafras.
Sassafras. So we hit Sassafras at the very end of our last full day, so day 3. And like I said, 18 miles, so like our biggest day too, and not exactly in like the best of like through hiker shape. I mean, we were fine, but we were both like pretty damn exhausted by the end of this shit. But Sassafras Mountain was sick. So it's the highest mountain in South Carolina, and it's literally on the North Carolina-South Carolina border, as in the border is like literally marked on the summit of the mountain. Like there's a line that goes like right through the border. So I think that's kind of funny that South Carolina's highest mountain is like half in North Carolina.
Yeah, no, it's like they couldn't just give it. Well, I guess no. North Carolina probably just gave it to them, you know. They're probably just like, yeah, here you go.
We got plenty of tall mountains in North Carolina. We don't need this little 35-foot, 3,500-foot mountain.
And we got really lucky too, because they had literally just finished building this platform up on top of the mountain, like a week before we got up there.
So there's like this tower on top, and there's a road that you can drive to the top too. And I know myself and most like other hikers aren't usually crazy about like the roads that drive up to the top of mountains, but I gotta say, like there was like only like 2 other people when we went up there, so like it really wasn't that bad for us. Weekend might be different, but I mean, this tower was freaking awesome. Like Flossie just said, they literally opened it a week before we get up there. So it was like brand new, just a beautiful, beautiful tower with like this compass in the center, like shows the directions and all that stuff. And like they even had like a guy that works for the state that was up there, just kind of, you know, to give information. Just this very, very old gentleman who was super friendly and super helpful. So Sassafras was awesome.
It was funny because when we came up, he was like, "Where are y'all from?" And I was like, "Vermont." And I was like, "I'm from Maine." So at the end there, he's like, "All right." He said he had to get going. So he's walking down the steps and he's like, "Y'all ain't ran into any hogs or anything, have you?" He's like, they're starting to become a real problem around here. We might have to start trapping them. I feel like he was just pulling our leg because he knew we were both from up north.
Even or he was just trying to intimidate us, yeah.
Yeah, and then he was like, yeah. So he walks down a couple more steps, and it was like in a movie. He just turns his head over his shoulder, and he's like, "Better watch out for them copperheads too." And then he said one had hit his boot like twice, attacked his boot.
Oh, I forgot about that, honestly. I'm glad you brought that up.
And he was literally up there, and he's like, "You see that? I can see my house from here." Oh, yeah. And it was literally his house. Like, most people say that, and they're just joking, but I was like, no, this dude can actually see his house.
That's like literally a house down there. Like, yeah. So good, so good. He was a nice guy. He was funny. He was like very like old, like to the point where he was almost like a little bit out of it, which we're also going to tell a story in a few minutes here about an old person that we met on this hike that was very out of it. But he was, I don't know, he was a good guy. It was probably just like a volunteer thing where he just gets to spend time up there and shoot the shit with people and kind of, tell them where the border is and point to the big old line in the middle of the tower and all that stuff. So Sassafras is awesome. The view up there is amazing too.
We
360.
couldn't even because they built that platform. We couldn't even figure out how to get down. Like
yeah, they hadn't marked. I'm pretty sure they haven't marked the trail fully up there yet. So we were kind of walking around like friggin' idiots, like trying to find. We climbed the tower like 3 different times. Like, I think the trail goes over here. Wait, no, it goes, and then we like just couldn't find it. But we found it eventually. You go up and over the tower, down the other side. People, don't forget that.
Which that guy was there for like that reason. We should have just asked him.
Yeah, I know, right?
Whatever. I was taken in by the view. That was a gnarly view.
Yeah, it was beautiful for
It
sure.
was right like sunset almost. And I didn't get any pictures, but I just took it in. Took some mental pictures.
Yeah, for sure.
You got some good video though.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, Sassafras was sweet. Then we found so you go over the tower and then you walk like probably like 0.1 on just like this little paved road, and then the trail goes back into the woods, and like right at the spot where the trail went back into the woods, there was like we thought it was trail magic at first. Like it looked like what you'd see on the AT if somebody just like left like a bin of food like at a trailhead for hikers. Like that's what it was pretty much, or that's what it looked like. So like we literally looked at each other. We were like, we're getting fucking trail magic on this. Like there's no way. And then we went up to it and like we don't know what it was, but I don't think it was trail magic because I'm pretty sure it had diapers in it. Like
yeah, it was like specific for somebody.
It must have been Flossy. Your internet's cutting out a little bit. It must have been like just for like a specific hike. Like maybe someone just left it there for like somebody that they knew that was hiking the trail or something like that.
Maybe they knew that. Maybe they know that you wet your hammy, so
I don't think I would have needed like 20 diapers. Like there was like a shit ton of diapers in there, dude. Like I don't even know. And then the rest was just like backpacking food. So like I don't know what that was about. Maybe if anybody listening to this knows of like a legitimate reason to have diapers on a backpacking trip besides maybe you're hiking with a fucking baby, like definitely let me know because maybe I'm missing out on something dope I could add to my gear kit. But
they keep your feet warm at night.
Shit, who knows, dude? Who knows? So that was interesting. And then that night we stayed at another really sick campsite, which This was the first night we actually stayed with somebody who was going our direction too. Yeah, so that's another thing I probably should have said this earlier, honestly. There's not that many people on this trail, at least not for us. We only saw, like Flossie just said, one other person the entire time that was hiking our direction. And what would you say? We maybe passed like 6 or 7 total other hikers that were going the other direction the entire trail.
That were actually like through hiking it or said they were trying to through hike it. Yeah, probably like 5 or 6. There weren't many.
No, definitely not. So this campsite, our last night, actually had a name. It's called the John L. Cantrell campsite. I guess it used to be like this dude's like home site, like this homeboy's home site back in the day. And
they still had like remnants of a chimney.
Yeah,
that was rocks so and stuff. It was definitely probably haunted, but
yeah, it was a little creepy in there. There was a lot of dead trees too, but it was still like a sick campsite. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, it's good. Another thing I noticed is we got really picky about where we were. We were able to be really picky out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like we got picky about the trees and everything, looking for dead trees. And on the AT, if you're lucky, you get there before the other people. But if not, most of the good spots are already taken.
Yeah.
So we were able. It was good and bad. Honestly, I don't mind that I didn't see many people out there. That's what I was out there for.
Yeah, for sure.
But we were able to be really picky about our spots and where we stayed, and I think I got a flat spot every time to set the tent up. Appreciate you letting me use the Fly Creek too.
No problem.
I think I've decided I'm gonna buy it. So
yeah, you definitely should. I'm sure plenty of people listening to this have Fly Creeks and can attest to how sick those tents are. What was I going to say? About the people, or the lack thereof, I thought that was cool too, because like it wasn't like we were just completely by ourselves. Like I did a 90-mile hike in the Adirondacks, the Northville, or an attempt on hiking the Northville to Placid Trail like 3 or 4 years ago now, 2015. What's that? Yeah. And me and my friend Dan didn't see a single other hiker for the entire fucking 90 miles, and like I didn't like that at all. So like I feel like the Foothills Trail is like enough people that like you don't just like completely go insane, but like again, you can be picky. You don't have to worry about like the campsites being full. We also hike during the week, so I'm guessing that some of those campsites might get a little more use during the weekend for sure. But I mean, overall, just not nearly as many people as the AT. That's for sure.
Yeah, it would have been nice to exchange some stories with people, you know. But it was also really good to catch up,
Yeah,
be out there and catch up with you.
it was just enough time that you didn't get sick of me, so that was perfect.
I don't know about that.
Whoa. Well, you're talking to me less than a week later, so you can't be that sick of me. Let's see. Let's talk about our last day. So like our little half day on day 4.5, I guess it would be. We just did like 9 miles after that last night back to the car, back to Table Rock State Park. And
We booked it.
yeah, we did. We were hauling ass just because we were hungry and wanted to kind of, wrap it up and fucking say we did it. I will say that those 9 miles, so pretty much from the summit of Sassafras, or like a mile or two after the summit of Sassafras to Table Rock, was like a pretty dope section, I thought. Like, you're up pretty high. I mean, obviously, because you just went over Sassafras. But there was that one, what was that mountain called with that overlook, like right like a couple miles before the end
It
of the
was
trail?
called Bald Knob. The elevation was 2,849 feet.
Are you looking at the book right now?
No, I got
How
it
do
in
you-
my phone.
Oh, okay. I was like, how the fuck did you remember
Damn,
that?
I should have told everyone that I just memorized that so I sounded smarter, but damn, I should have just went with that.
Too late now. It's out there.
Yeah, anyways, yeah, Bald Knob, that was the best. Other than Sassafras, that was definitely the best view we had. We could see Table Rock, like the actual Table Rock
Yeah.
from that spot.
So like there's really not that many expansive views on this trail. Really only that one and the summit of Sassafras. I'd really say that's it. Like there's a couple other ones where you can kind of like see through the trees a little bit. And like it's still like a super scenic trail if you haven't gotten that memo already listening to this conversation, but like those are really the only two like expansive views, and they come like right at the end, both of them too, which I thought was kind of cool. Or the end for us, obviously, if you hike the other way, you'd get them both of them your first day probably. But I don't know. I thought that was kind of cool too, and that Bald Knob was like a really like awesome view as well. A great way to kind of wrap up the trip there.
Yeah, and if you started like early April, you might have been there right before bloom season, so you might get better views during
That's true.
that time. So
Yeah, that's true.
it just happened that we were there late April, early May. So
Which was still like an awesome time to hike it, I thought, because like it wasn't like overbearingly hot, but it also wasn't like super cold either. Like it was a pretty like neutral. It honestly just felt like what it's like here in Vermont hiking like during the middle of July. Like that's what it felt like down there at the end of April, pretty much, which is like
yeah.
what I'm used to. So like that was pretty nice, I thought.
And then we met. Oh, the swim at the end was
Yeah.
that was refreshing.
So there's
That was well needed.
yeah. I've been talking. I've been doing most of the talking here. I'll let you take that one, Flossie.
Oh, well, at first we didn't even. This sounds like we don't have like any sense of direction, but we didn't know. It was like they stopped blazing the trail basically.
For like the last like 0.2 probably.
Yeah, so we were like, we came across this sweet little. It was like a little falls, and a perfect natural shower. I was like, you know what? Let's just not waste time at Table Rock, and we'll just. It was this awesome pool. We just jumped in, and which we Nar got some sweet footage of it, but basically just got a natural shower, and we met this woman that did the 14 state challenge, which I was confused what that was.
Yeah, I'd never heard of that before, honestly.
I mean, I guess we did that too, right? I mean, we just did it a little bit more extreme, but props to her.
I guess it's what did she say? It was not hiking every state on the AT, but hiking in every state on the AT.
And she was so proud of it too.
Hey,
Like
I mean, that's
no,
still
I
pretty
would
sick.
be. No, I didn't even want to bring up that we hiked the whole AT. I wanted her to have that moment and just us be clueless about it.
What's the AT?
Yeah, exactly.
The AT Trail, is that what it is?
The AT.
She was a nice little old lady though.
Yeah, and then we got Moe's barbecue.
Yeah,
right at the end.
In Greenville, South Carolina, yeah, on the way back. Yeah, that was a great way to end it as well. Yeah, I feel like as far as the swimming goes, like there's a bunch of places on this trail that you can swim, like not just at the end there.
Oh yeah.
We swam another time. We forgot to talk about that actually. What was that? Was that our second or third day?
I think that was the third day. Yeah, that was
third day. I'm trying to figure out where it was, what river it was. The horse pasture river.
Yes, horse pasture. Yeah, if y'all are looking to swim, definitely horse pasture. And then if you're going eastbound, the last 0.5 there, or was it 0.2 or something like that?
I don't remember. Something like that, like at the end, pretty much.
Basically, those are two great spots, but there are so many other ones.
Yeah, we could have swam definitely like at least once every single day on this hike. I mean, most of like the scenery is like rivers and stuff, as you've probably come to realize by now. So yeah, I mean, dude, just thinking back on this now, like wow, that was such a fun hike. Like you have the mountain views, you have like literally a high point, a state high point, and then you have like so many awesome rivers and so much just like beautiful like forest, like and obviously amazing weather for us. Like I don't honestly, other than my foot, which did get a little bit better as the trail went on, and is feeling much better now that I haven't been walking 16 miles a day on it. Other than that, I feel like this was pretty much like a perfect like fucking hike. Yeah, like I hate to say that, but like it was so amazing.
And if you're a beginner, really, like this is because it's really is not strenuous. Like we said earlier, a lot of it is on the logging roads, which are pretty easy going.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great hike for a beginner. Like I would totally bring my buddy Ben out there who's been wanting to hike. Like that would be a perfect start.
Absolutely.
For someone who's never backpacked before.
Absolutely. And just for someone like us who's like done the AT maybe and wants to like go hike a similar trail like with a pretty much identical feel with that's just like not the AT. Like it because like I said, it's super close to the AT, same mountains and everything, so like very similar feel other than the lack of shelters and the lack of people. Definitely just for anybody that wants to hike at all, I would just recommend this trail. Like it's so amazing, and hopefully you have as nice of a time as we did and as good of weather as we did as well.
Yeah, we've gotten so lucky, like hiking, especially through the whites. Like we had not a drop of rain got on my head, and when I hiked through the Smokies, not a drop of rain through there either. So I don't know. The hiker gods are with me. The trail provides.
Absolutely. That's why I'm going to drag your ass out on the Northville to Placid Trail at the end of
ready.
The summer, hopefully. We can talk a little bit more about that later, but I'm trying to get Flossy to go on another through hike. By the end of our second to last day, I was already like trying to sell him on it. Like, oh dude, we got to come back out and do another one like this year. Like I was trying to get him going.
No, I'm down for sure. I'm already convinced. By that time I'll have my new pack and a new tent, so
hell yeah.
It kind of sucked I had to haul the old Osprey out, but it's all right. It's a great pack.
It is what it is.
Starting out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I got you through the whole AT, so can't complain about that.
I know. I'm surprised I got through the whole AT with everything I had. Like literally, my sleeping pad, I spent like $47 on it, and my down bag, I spent like $73. I was on a budget, but I made it all work. It's what you got to do. Just make it work.
Absolutely.
You don't need the best gear to do a through hike. Just make it work.
Just send it, man. Just gotta have the right mindset.
I had a $99 Amazon tent. and that is the truth, the whole AT, and I made it work.
Hell yeah.
So
Hell yeah.
that's how much I wanted it.
Let's let's kind of wrap it up here a little bit, Flossie. So there's a big old elephant in the room between you and I right now because we have yet to talk about probably like the most like noteworthy story that happened to us on this hike. Or yeah. I would say that definitely the weirdest thing. So let's do that. I always like to save the stories for the end, but this time I'm like saving a story that happened to me too. So I think I guess we'll both kind of just chime in and get it down. So this was on our second day, right? It was lunchtime at the second day.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So we crossed. Let me look at the map. I guess it doesn't really matter too much. It must have been South Carolina 107, Sloan Bridge. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, that was the one.
About 24 miles into the trail, and there's some picnic tables and a privy, or a little outhouse at this road crossing, and there's like a little parking area and everything. And so we kind of knew about the picnic tables, and so we stopped there to eat lunch. Like that's kind of what we planned on. And so we get there, we take our, like, or at least I took, like, all my food out and everything. I was, like, getting ready. I actually started eating and everything. And
if you don't know Nar, he literally takes all the food out of his pack and strews it everywhere.
I'm a sprawler for sure.
So that's what had happened.
My shit was everywhere, yeah. So this lady pulls into the parking lot. She parks her car. She gets out. This older lady, probably in what, her like 60s, something like that.
Yeah, I would say around that age.
In her 60s, and she has a dog in her car as well, like a bigger dog. And she gets out and she comes over to us. So what was the first thing she said to us?
Oh, the first thing she said she was like, "Are you guys millennials?" And then she's like, "Wait." And then she sits down next to Nar. So she's sitting like right next to Nar, and then she was like, "You guys look a little bit older than millennials, are you?" And you were like, "I don't really know the cutoff, but yeah, I'm a millennial." Anyways, then she starts talking about her son and everything, and saying how, I don't know, he's a doctor and whatnot. And then, what is she?
So it's like it really hit me that there was something wrong with this lady when she
was
asked
intoxicated.
us to stay at her house for like a month. Isn't that what she said?
She literally was like, "Hey, do you guys know Airbnb? My house is on it. You guys want to stay in my house for a month?"
We're like, no. So at this point, we kind of both realized that like there was something off with this lady. I also kind of realized at this point that her pupils were like really dilated. I think that's the right word. They were just like huge, like just taking up her whole eye, and like she was slurring, like she was just like not like super responsive to everything we were saying. Like she was pretty off. Honestly, up to this point, I wasn't sure if she was drunk or if she was just like a crazy person. Honestly, I at this point I still thought she was like just a crazy person, but I was kind of just waiting for her to go away. Like I figured she would just like, she told us she stopped to pee. She never actually went into the bathroom at all, but like,
no, she never did.
That's what she told us. So I figured
she
was just gonna
in her hand.
Oh yeah, that's right, she did. Like I figured she was just gonna like leave. Like I didn't think she'd be there for that long. But we talked to her for probably probably closer to 10 minutes, right? And then she made the comment about the dog. What did she say about the dog?
Well, at first she was like, "I thought you guys would be nice."
Yeah.
And she was like, "You guys aren't gonna like beat me up or murder me or anything like that." And she was just super. The tone of her voice was like eerie, like a witch, like creepy. Like she was on something for sure. And then she looks at Nar and she's like, "You're doubtful." Like, and you're just like, I'm doubtful. What am I doubtful about? And then she said something about her dog.
She said,
She was like, "I wouldn't dare let him out because he might attack you or bite you or something."
Yeah.
And then that's the moment she starts walking over to her car, and I start packing my stuff up. And Nars like, he gets the hint that I'm like, all right, it's time to get out of here for sure. Because I don't know what she's getting out of the car. Like, it could have been anything. You never know. And so I start packing my stuff up. Nars like passing me his food bag. He's like, dude, just throw my stuff in here. It'll make the process quicker. He's like tying his shoes. And then luckily, I saw her put the dog on a leash. At least she was in the right state of mind to do that.
Yeah.
So she puts the dog on the leash and brings it over, and then Nars like, ma'am, actually kind of allergic to dogs. My dad's allergic, and I just kind of got it from him. And you were like,
she's not. I'm not allergic to dogs.
Yeah, we just didn't know. I've never gotten that type of vibe from somebody before.
And like it was a pretty big dog too. I don't remember what kind of dog it was. And the dog was fine. Like it didn't bark at us, it didn't jump at us or anything, but like just when this crazy lady that was just talking about like how her dog was going to attack us if she brought it out brings out her dog, I was just like, no, keep that fucking thing away from me. Like we're kind of laughing about this, but like at the time, it was actually like pretty like sketchy, honestly. I mean, we were both like pretty uncomfortable, I think, with this whole situation.
I couldn't stop, like, when hiking afterwards, I like couldn't stop thinking about it. Then I was like, what if she just stops at like the next road crossing on 107 and she's just sitting there?
Nah,
like she just tried to follow us.
I don't think she had a fucking clue what we were doing, honestly. Like we told her we were hiking the Foothills Trail. I don't think she had a fucking idea like what the Foothills Trail even was.
And she was like, we were like, where are you going? And
that's
she's like,
exactly
I'm driving
what I was about to say. Yes.
She's like, I'm driving home, and we were like, where's home? And she was like, the Pisgah Forest. Like, I don't even know what that is.
She's like, I don't have a home. I live in the Pisgah Forest.
And I think she was just trying to get stuff off on us, honestly, because she kept talking about how hard it was taking care of her mother. And
she was talking about how her mother's like really old, and like I kind of got the vibe that she really just like wanted her mother to like die or something, so she didn't have to. This is the lady was like fucking weird people. I'm telling you, I don't even know.
She was. I've felt uncomfortable before, but I was honestly in that moment I was pretty uncomfortable.
Yeah, that was hands down the sketchiest person she wasn't a hiker. We met her at the road, but like hands down the sketchiest person I've ever met like while I was on a hike before. Like, yeah, not good. If it wasn't for the dog thing, honestly, I think I would have just thought she was like drunk or crazy or something. I mean,
she seemed harmless. We both definitely could have taken her.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Not one of us. You could have got the dog. I would have got her. But...
Yeah, but I mean, when she went and got the dog out, that's when like I really was like, okay, fuck this lady. Like this lady's fucking.
Oh wait, you're crazy. Allergic, so I would have had to go after the dog.
Yeah. I would have taken the lady. You would have taken the dog.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyways, I think that pretty much covers it. Yeah, we just like once I saw Flossie packing up, and once the lady kind of started walking back towards the car to get her dog out, I was like, yeah, no. So I started to pack up, and we pretty much just dipped. And I would say that's like a pretty obvious piece of advice, but still worth repeating, I guess, is if you ever meet anybody on the trail you're not comfortable around, or at a road crossing like we did, obviously sometimes it's more convenient than other times, but if you can, just pack up and keep going, or hike somewhere else, just get away from them. That's the best
honestly
thing you can do.
If we wouldn't have booked it so quick, really we probably should have got her license plate number and at least notified somebody, because she was not in the right state of mind to be driving. She could have totally hurt somebody else.
Yeah, and I did check my cell phone for service right after we like kind of got back in the woods there, but neither one of us had service. And I
remember because I was looking for service while she went back to her car, because I didn't know what she was going to get. Obviously, I could tell she wasn't leaving. She was like in the back seat.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just want service just in case, Yeah. But we didn't have any, so.
Sketchy, but we were okay, and just use discretion out there, people.
We could have taken her.
Yeah, definitely. The dog. It was a pretty big dog, but yeah, I mean, she would have been no match for Nar and Flossie, the most intimidating names you've ever heard.
I know. Speaking of that, some guy at a hostel picked me up on the AT, and he was like, I thought you were a girl. He was like, I thought I was looking for a girl. Because he's like, what kind of a guy name is Flossie?
Oh, what a jackass. Wow.
I know. I was like, dude, it was just given to me. Like,
it's a fucking trail name, yeah. Oh, so good.
Also, I got to give that guy credit because literally his sister left him in charge of her house to take care of a bunch of smelly hikers, and he didn't even know. Like, she didn't even notify him.
Damn.
that she didn't notify him that she ran a hostel too. And he was so pissed when he picks me up. He had to like do all this laundry and take care of us and stuff.
He didn't even know that.
He didn't even know. She it was like she failed to mention that she also caters to AT through hikers at her house. And he was like,
was it
so
mad. It was a
mad.
hostel, you said? What was the hostel?
It was Bear. I forget. It was a hostel right before Harper's Ferry, like
Okay.
like literally 6 miles from Harper's Ferry.
Oh,
It
you
was-
know what? I tried to stay at that hostel. I called those motherfuckers and they didn't answer the phone, so I just didn't stay there.
Well, yeah, she was out of town. I mean, he was so mad he had to pick me up. He
Oh,
was
that
so
that
mad.
probably explains why nobody fucking picked up the phone when I called him like 3 times. Damn.
Honestly,
now I know.
in the
I got some
morning.
closure.
Yeah, dude, in the morning. I think he had a little bit to drink. I could smell it on his breath when he picked me up, but
Yeah, not good, people. Not good. I think with that, we're gonna kind of wrap it up, Flossie. Is there anything else you want to say about the Foothills Trail, about this trip?
No, I was stoked we were able to do it. We talked about it at the end of the AT, kind of like I didn't know if I was going to be able to go on it because I didn't know if I'd have all the gear ready, and I was fortunate enough you let me borrow your tent, and it all just panned out and worked out, and all in all, it was literally no issues
Yeah, we killed
other
it.
than that one little mishap, but it made out for a good story.
Yeah, for sure.
And
All right, man.
Honestly, I'm ready to try the Northfield to Placid Trail.
Hell yeah, that's gonna be another step up, but I think we can handle it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's gonna do it. To everybody listening, I hope you enjoyed this kind of like different episode. I'm not gonna edit this. Like, I'm sorry if there's like some clicks and some like background noise and that stuff, but I'm gonna keep it pretty raw for this one. No cuts. And yeah, please go check out the Trail Tales Patreon if you haven't. Helps me keep producing the show. And I would just really appreciate that. You'll get a bonus episode and some bloopers and all that good stuff. Yeah, just go check that out, please. Patreon.com/trailtales, Instagram @trailtalespod. And most importantly, thank you very much for listening. And Flossie, dude, thank you so much for taking the time for round 2. This was awesome. I'm glad we kind of have this conversation that kind of encapsulates like every part of our entire like foothills hike. So that's pretty cool. We have this to look back on now. So, dude, thank you so much.
In about 5 months, we'll do the Northfield to Placid podcast after we complete it.
Hell yeah.
You'll be able to get your redemption.
Hell yeah. All right. I think that's going to do it. The live episode of Trail Tales is over. I don't think I'm going to keep doing them like this unless people really like it. But yeah, thanks for listening and have a good one, everybody.
Peace out, hiker trash.